Greetings, church. Again, this is my second bus stop here. The first one, if you saw the first video, southeast Morrison and southeast, southeast Morrison and southeast MLK. I got cut off just as the bus was coming, so I had to cross back over here. This is where I was an hour ago, right across the street where you see Starbucks over there and then the Justice Center. And I was sitting at the bench that's right over there, and I had this around my neck here. I had this around my neck. This is what I've been using to raise funds. Right there, to raise funds for my ministry tent that was destroyed last month on the 2nd of July. Remember, the 7th of July, 5 days later, supposedly, President Jovenel, the Haitian president, was killed. I'm dealing with a lot of lies and a lot of false information. This is my conclusion to what just occurred here. A lot of lying. On my way from the storage, I heard in my ear what's a little lie with the truth. I would say that's coming straight out of the heart of the devil, but you know, who am I? There may not even be a devil, right? With all the lies that I'm being told these days. Anyway, so as I sat over there with this sign around my neck, why was I sitting over there? Because when I woke up this morning after being molested, they came in, they gave me a stiff. I had fallen asleep last night, and after I had pitched the tent. I had jumped in the tent, it was started raining, and I figured I'd get up to do some writing and to do some work, to do some sewing, sewing the tent bag and sewing the this IKEA bag that I had purchased. Instead of doing that, I fell asleep. I didn't wake up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I left the tent unlocked. So they molested me during the course of the night, and before that, though, I had gone to, let me see, I'm trying to see how far back I need to go, and how this whole thing began. A couple of days ago, I was out in the public, preaching the gospel, and I was using this sign, and one of the workers from the gym saw me. And later on, yesterday before leaving the gym, I said TMS is everything that I'm dealing with is because of TMS, the Master Seminary. She was sitting at the desk. I didn't say anything to her directly. I don't know if she heard me, but Melinda MacArthur, who's on the inside, who is the daughter of TMS, the president of TMS, Master Seminary, heard it. The response came not until last night after about between 5:30 and 6 o'clock at City Team Ministries. MacArthur didn't like the fact that I used the letters, so he staged some hits. He used a white Mexican in the back serving food to disrespect a couple times. He used someone to, well, this is Melinda's words, that somebody took a sip of my drink from Jackson. Twice. Some homeless person did. It wasn't this size drink. It was like either the next size or the size after that. This is the cut down size. This is what I got out of it. In any case, long story short, they also tore into my IKEA bag with some sort of a sharp device. They cut open the IKEA bag. So when I left, I didn't know that the IKEA bag had been cut. I was kind of frustrated because they used an African American to kind of piss me off. They have young black Africans that are literally, how do I say this? I don't know what information they give to these people, but it's all in the representation. And so they put enough venom in these people against me so that it's almost like the blacks begin it, the mulatto yellows take it, and then the end result is usually somebody from the police department, the government, or it's Gabriel. or the Klan. So they began yesterday, and it was all set up, and I could see that there was a setup there at City Team. The Lord was the one who told me to go there for a meal. So I went there, and it was set up. I got hit. I left. My drink was, I guess they put their mouth on it. The homeless are not clean, so who wants to the backwash of someone who's not clean, and plus they don't know whether I'm clean or not. So why would they want my backwash? So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but in any case, long story short, I went to this department here, the police department on the other side, in that tower over there, and I spoke to the front desk person, and I explained to them that City Team is back out again with the disrespect. They're back out again with the sabotaging of my property and all the setups. And I told them that you guys need to teach your people some manners because of just the rudeness of it. And when I asked them for tents, it's no, we're not giving it to you because we're dealing with the people in the back. The people in the back being the people in back of City Team. They have Mark Rodriguez's. They have people representing Grace Community Church people. It's really subtle. I don't want to get into the details of how they're communicating and what they're saying. It's a cut down. It's a cut down to the Mexicans, and then of course the Mexicans turn around and cut me down. And then I have to give it to the government, and it's the sexual assault, physical assault, the piercing of the knees. It's all the stuff that they do at night. In any case, I left and went to Pioneer Square Park. God wanted the word preached in front of the courthouse to the park. They had 4 Africans set up across the street, a homeless in front of Potbelly, who was supposed to be representing Gabriel Franklin's family, and then they had some other people there. Some I recognized and others I didn't. So for a few minutes I preached on Matthew 25 verses 1 through 40, 41, 42. The parable of the wise and unwise virgin, the parable of the faithful steward, and the sheep and the goat. Okay, about the kingdom and God wanting to. God was basically preparing the people for the second coming of Christ, and were they prepared? Are they prepared? Are you prepared to go in with Christ? Are you prepared to give an account for the gifts that were given to you? As are you a sheep and a goat? And when you go in, so I basically spoke to them for a good solid 15-20 minutes, and then after that, during the course of that time, people were giving me, they gave me some cash to resolve this thing here, because it's inside of the tent that I do ministry. It's a ministry tent. They gave me some cash to do ministry, and afterwards I went to Peterson's on 4th and Alder to buy a drink, but the door was closed. So I went over to 17 bus to catch the bus to cross over to get a drink at 7-Eleven. When I got to 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven was closed. So I went to Peterson's, Jackson's on Grant and near the mall. And when I got there, it was open, but it was set up again. And this is how I ended up getting this drink here. I usually get the big ones, the big gulps, the huge ones. And they didn't want me to get the big ones, so they lowered me to this size here, the small one. When I got in, it was set up, and apparently, I'm not sure if it was a staged robbery or if it was a real robbery, if somebody really defecated in the bathroom, or if it was just staged. In other words, it was staged at Peterson's. They deliberately closed the door so I wouldn't go in to buy a drink. They deliberately closed the door again at 7-Eleven so I wouldn't buy a large drink. I think what they were making reference to is that passage in Matthew 25, where the virgins, the wise virgins, come back to, well, when they finally went to the wedding feast, they knocked on the door and says, "Lord, Lord, please open the door." Lord says, "No, I won't open the door. You're not mine. I don't know you." And I turned to the city and I said to the city, "What if you, upon your death, you stand outside of heaven?" And I had this sign here. This is the sign that I used. This was the sign that I used right here. And you could see on the sign it says, "Do not enter, do not trespass. What are you waiting for to be reconciled to God?" I used that sign along with this one here, these two signs here. This sign here is the left-hand side, the goats, for the goats, asking them, what are you waiting for to be reconciled to God? And what are you waiting for? Wealth, family, good job, to win the lotto. And for the sheep, those who are faithful, to continue doing the work, whether it be in a tent or somewhere else, doing the ministry, right? So for the sheep, it's on this side as we continue to do ministry. For the goats, it's on this side. They have to resolve whether or not they're going to be reconciled to God. In any case, I think it was from that angle that they made the decision to close the door of the stores, the two stores, 7-Eleven and Peterson. I was supposed to go back to Peterson, but then I remembered Jackson was nearer, so I went to Jackson and got this instead. So anyway, afterwards, I pitched my tent. I came back downtown, pitched my tent, and went to sleep, was molested. And when I woke up this morning, what I was told was that, and this is MacArthur's daughter now talking, and she says to me that 3 people were killed. Okay, last night apparently an African went to the city team and he tried to get some resources. It ended up in a fight outside. He ended up getting stabbed to death. 2 white Americans were in the back and they got shot. And both supposedly, now there's 3 people dead. And I needed to go right over there where you see that woman sitting. That's where I was sitting. And she was there all the time I was talking. She was laying behind a plant. And I don't think she was sleeping. I think she was, because I think in the community, she represents a member of the Portland Police Department that sits behind the desk. And there might even be a police officer, female or male, because it's all based on what you look like. They all share the same face and the same physical appearance. And so they're all somehow defending, it's sort of like passed on from one person to another. So she was probably, and I've asked her this before, if she represented the police department, and she says no. In any case, long story short, I went there this morning and I shared with them what I shared with you, and also the fact that 3 people had died. But I didn't know that when I was saying this, I didn't find out until after I had spoken to them that 3 people had not died. Melinda lied. When they found out what had happened, apparently they added to it and started talking about a funeral. In other words, they were mocking and ridiculing me. When I was sitting over there, they gave me a breakfast card. I think I still have it. There was $4 on the card. I've been dealing with. There was $4 on the card. I've been dealing with Red Lobster. A former worker of Red Lobster. Her name was Linda when I was working there, and apparently Linda's voice is here in Portland. And Linda's face is here in Portland. I don't know Linda. I don't have a relationship with Linda. I have absolutely no idea why Red Lobster would use Linda's voice or face, or if it's the government. I'm not sure what's going on. I was lied to. I can hear Linda's voice. And what I was told was that it's her voice, but the problem is there's a bunch of women walking around here with her face, her body type, and her voice, and she supposedly was killed in New York years ago, and they wanted to know if I had anything to do with it. And I basically said no. But then they told me that Bob Gone was killed, and then later on they switched it back and says, "Oh no, we're lying to you. We just wanted to see whether or not you would submit, to a white woman." This is what was given to me this morning. Apparently there was $4 in there. They tried to give me the same kind of card at the FedEx on the day that the manager came out and dissed me and talked down to me. Remember, I had a cone in my head. That was the video I made. On that day, there was a white male there who had made some sort of, I think it was on that day, or maybe it wasn't, I don't remember, but it was at a FedEx. I think it might have been yesterday, or one of the two FedExes. They tried to give me a card with money on it, and I think $1.25. I think it was the one that's on 5th and in Columbia. Anyway, he tried to give me the card, and I said, no, don't, I don't need it. Keep it for the next time you're there. Anyway, when they caught up to me, this is what it became. So they caught up as a community, an unbelieving community, and they gave me this card this morning while I was sitting there with this sign around my neck. But I also had this sign up when I was talking to them. I'm relating this to you for a reason, okay? I also had this sign up because I came out, and remember how this started, right? It's with me trying to save face, and the fact that I don't have an address, a proper address, and the people are kind of wincy. The workers in the storage, the workers in the 24 hours, they don't come out directly, they come out indirectly. And the issue is, you don't have an address, you're a homeless. And my response is, this is the address that's on the DMV card is what I've used, which is Vancouver. Well, as an unbelieving community, they're going to Vancouver to check out whether or not they're going the extra mile. They're going and knocking on the door of the apartment complex or wherever I'm supposedly living at to see whether or not I'm really living there. And so they use it. It's sort of like a dagger in my back, and that's how it all got started. It's with me trying to defend the fact that I'm here doing ministry, and I'm using the address that's over there, and I'm lodging in a tent, and this is what's being done to me in the tent. And the people that are behind this is the Master Seminary, Grace Community Church, because John MacArthur is still here, so is his daughter, so is Jonathan Szabo, so is Gabriel Franklin, and the whole issue is me being a slave and submitting to the devil and submitting to Gabriel, submitting to the Queen of England, submitting to homosexuality, big, huge issue, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I used this sign earlier across the street. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see if I could possibly put it in the sunlight so you could see, and I was sitting over there. So this is the sign here. The sign says, God spoke through, can you see this? God spoke through the prophets and said, the soul that sins shall die. Ezekiel 18:4. Do you want to die? Why do you keep sinning? And this is coming from Hebrews 1, verses 1 through 3. God spoke through his son and said, repent, you must be born again. And this is Matthew 4:17 and John 3:1 through 8. Portlanders, why are you not born again of the Holy Spirit? Stop sinning. The wages of sin is death. Romans 6:23. And then it says here, on the bottom here, you can see that God spoke through the apostles and said, scoffers will come in the last days with scoffing, following their own desires. 2 Peter 3:1 through 3. The scoffing is unbelievers, mockers, and ridiculers. And then the question is, community, are you scoffing? Are you scoffers? Are you the scoffers of this generation? And so for this morning, I asked them this question here. As you can see, there's 4 squares. So at 4 different times, it began this way: 1, 2, and then 3, and then this morning 4. What is your response? Right? What is your response as an American community? What is your response as the Spanish? And what is your response as Haitians? And why do I have the map there? I put up the map because of the fact that I had used a map in my describing the position or the situation this morning. This is the map that I used, and it's in back of my record book. This is the map here. Okay, you can't really see it, but the issue was, and I told them the issue is the fact that I'm not a British, I'm not a European, I'm a Haitian Cuban. And as a Haitian Cuban, I'm not allowed to exercise authority over Europeans, and I'm not allowed to exercise authority over the Hispanics and African Americans. So this entire thing that has happened with Master Seminary is because I'm not a white man. Okay, at least that's what I told them when I was inside of Starbucks. They cut me down, and I had to give them a response, and I had to remind them of this map right here, of the fact that my father's of he's a Haitian Cuban, he's mixed, but deceased, at least that's what I was told. My mother's from Haiti. I'm a combination of the two. And very lightly here I drew, and I was explaining grace, and this is why this video is being produced. It's this little box right here. You see this box right there? I don't know if you can see it or not. That's TMS. Okay, this is where the whole thing began. And this is the campus of TMS. And I explained that, and and this is England right there. Africa, the Spanish coming from Spain, and the Haitians coming from Africa. But TMS is where this whole thing started. That's the campus. And the fact that they have removed, and what I was saying to them is that the ministry that I was doing, on TMS's property, I can no longer do. I was kicked out. I tried it in the trailer. They wouldn't allow me to keep the trailer. I tried it in the tent. They wouldn't allow me to keep the tent. So that puts me outside. And so that's why I'm trying to raise this money here to buy another tent to continue doing the ministry. Remember what James says, faith without works is dead. You can't say you have faith, but yet you have no works. Right? So faith without works is dead. But in any case, this is what has occurred. And I don't know if there's going to be a hit against City Team. I don't know if there's going to be a hit against TMS. I don't know if there's going to be a hit against the Queen, because she has a ton of representatives. The person that gave me the card wore an orange top, and the orange top goes back to Gabriel. Gabriel goes back to the Queen, all in representation. So lies are being told. So if I'm saying something, or if I've said something on this video and it sounds like gospel truth and you find out it's a lie, it's not deliberate. Okay? In my defense, I want you to understand, I'm not just recounting information. I'm also defending my faith and what I believe, and the fact that I've been reduced as a Haitian to do ministry in the streets. They say, well, you can, if you just kept on looking for an apartment, you can find one. The issue is not me looking for an apartment and finding one. The issue is not me looking for a job and finding one. It's these people who have made the decision to take a stand on the fact that you are not equal. You are not free. You are not going into full-time ministry as a pastor over whites. You are from the Caribbean. You will submit to a white woman. That's why Linda's back. That's why Gabriel's here. That's why Melinda's here. You will submit to a white woman, and a white woman will help you find a black person. The dominance. The issue is the dominance over my life as a Haitian. To be reduced back to the island. Remember, the original settlers removed the Africans out of Africa and reduced them down to Haiti. So it's a reverse. What we were in Africa in number, they took out some of us and brought us to the United States, and then sent us down to the Caribbean. Both Spanish, Christopher Columbus, both Spanish and British. So we're still dealing with that issue of, being independent. Okay. And as a Haitian, apparently I'm not independent to make the decision to exercise my freedom of religion, to go into the ministry, to pastor a church, to establish a church, to plant a church, to be a church authority. The faith that you have as your own conviction. The Bible says that, I think it's in 1 Timothy 3:1. I don't even remember the passage of the book, but I used this text here right here, to remind them that you need these instructions, right? Basic instructions before leaving Earth, sort of like DMV. You need to pass the test in order to get the license. So I use this. But 1 Timothy 3:1 says that it is a good thing if a man aspires to the office of an overseer. I think that's where the freedom comes in. God releases you to be all of that, and I sort of felt like that freedom was taken back from me. My freedom of religion was taken back from me when MacArthur put me off of his property, turned me back over to the Haitian family that I was removed from when I became a ward of the court, and has been using her vagina and has been using homosexuality as a cord or as a whip, basically to keep me from being his equal. You want to know what the issue is? I'm not allowed to be equal to John MacArthur behind a pulpit as a pastor. I'm not allowed to marry a white woman. I can marry a black woman, but I can't marry a white woman. That means Spanish women, Asian women, in the church, that is. That means Spanish women, Asian women, unless I submit to slavery. Slavery is the big, is what unites us with Europeans. Outside of slavery, it cannot be Christianity for us to be their equal. It has to be slavery or else, I don't know the African American story well enough to relate African American people who have been through situations like this, but it's a heartbreak and it's a cut down, and I felt like I needed to say something to you openly as a church, because I said it here at the police department, outside of the police department, and all the time that they were listening to me, they were probably chuckling behind closed doors because MacArthur's behind closed doors with them. And it's mockery and ridicule, and you never know how people get killed,